Hi, good morning. My name is Elizabeth Foss. I am an occupational therapist. Today, we're going to talk about some ataxia hacks. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to just touch on what the heck occupational therapy is. Our goal as occupational therapists is to focus on functional independence, reducing risk for falls, and helping people be independent again. In order to do this, we do balance, strength, coordination training, home safety modifications, and adapted equipment training. That is what I am, and that is what we do. So that being said, we're going to walk through our daily routine from the beginning to the end of the day and just come up with some tips and ataxia hacks that I hope may help. As a real quick disclaimer, just to let you know, this presentation includes no paid promotions, and it's really meant to be for educational purposes. It really should not be taken as medical advice. Let's start. Okay, here we are. We get up in the morning, and the first thing we may be advantageous to have is something for support, bed rails, or standard poles. Next, we go to the bathroom, right? The first thing that, or something that may help, I should say, swing away hinges. This can give you an extra 2 inches if you're using something like a walker or a wheelchair to really save those doorways. From here, we walk into the bathroom, and something we think of is a toilet safety frame as seen in that top picture. Then we think of grab bars. In the bottom picture here, we have what we think of horizontal, vertical grab bars, but I do want to mention flip up grab bars, and that is on the bottom right there. This can be helpful if you have a toilet bathroom without a wall, but I've also used these for garages, okay? If you have 1 or 2 steps to get into the house and you want something to hold on to instead of that doorway, flip away grab bars may be a solution for you. On the topic of toileting at night, especially for females, we may want to transition to a bedside commode. And if odor is something that is kind of preventing you, they have these automatic air fresheners that can go off throughout the night to help with that. Bidets are fantastic. You can get these to attach onto your toilet to help you with pericare. On the topic of toileting at night, here are some options. For nighttime lighting, there are timers, clapper lights, voice activated, motion censored can be helpful so you're not finding that light switch, right? And strip lighting, think of like the movie theater, that can give you a little pathway as seen on the bottom right. Toilet bowl lights, and those come in different colors too. Oral hygiene. The hardest part with oral hygiene is getting that toothpaste onto the toothbrush, right? So there's the toothpaste to mouth technique where you can put that toothpaste directly into the mouth on the front teeth. Electric toothbrushes are great, or on the left, tremor management. Sometimes we have to use our environment, the wall, or something like that, where you can prop your arm against that wall, slide it up. Use that to help you with your tremors. On that topic of tremor reduction, there's a research study on forearm cooling induced tremor reduction. I can talk about that. Hand over hand, sometimes we need to use one hand to support the other. Splinting, something like a cock-up splint as seen in the middle, to use during handwriting, taking it on and off. And wrist weights, there's research to support that. That may be helpful, something easy to try out. If you want to know more tips for tremors, here is a whole video, including those tips with more detail. It's on Little Steps, Big Gains. Upper body dressing. Hardest part here is buttoning and zippers, right? So a really easy technique is the pullover technique. Go ahead and button and zipper your shirt ahead of time, and then put it over your top of your head like a pullover shirt. They also have Velcro button conversion kits, and sometimes females have to transition to sports bras. Lower body dressing. Okay, on the right, we have, once again, there's Velcro button conversion kits. And on the left, what the heck is a pant clip? All right, this solves that problem. When we put our pants over our feet, we go to stand up and the pants fall to the floor. You can get a pant clip. It clips your pants to your shirt. Or you can make one with chip clips. If you want to learn about that, there is a video how to make a pant clip using chip clips. It is on Little Steps, Big Gains. Oh, socks and compression stockings, right? The worst. So for socks, we have on the right sock aids and on the left compression stockings. Something that can be helpful is called the inside out method. You turn your compression stocking inside out. Things like the Arian slide, Don and Duffer, lubricants, there are some options. We can talk more about those. Shoes. Here's some options for you. Elastic shoelaces. You never have to tie or untie them. Magnetic shoelaces. I use these for people that are more wheelchair bound because when we walk, if one foot goes in front of the other and it hits the back of the first shoe, it can unclip. So be very cautious on that. On the right, I have used this technique for people with Velcro laces, okay, or strips. What you can do is put a little hole on the end of it, add a key ring, and it gives you something to hold on to, a little tip or trick that may be helpful. On the topic of shoes, we always think of the long-handled shoe horn on the left. And on the right, there's this thing called a foot funnel, and I love foot funnels. You put it in your shoe ahead of time to protect the back. And then you have both hands free and it can help you get that foot into that shoe. I have a whole video on that can walk you through foot funnels if you're interested. Where are all of these videos, right? So we have, it is called Tips for Compression Stockings, Socks, and Shoes. It's on Little Steps, Big Gains. Eating, here are some options. So large ladle spoons may be helpful. Two-handed cups as seen on the top, non-spill lids. There's this cup called the Hand Steady Drinking Aid. It has been helpful for some people. It basically counterbalances our tremors. And then the rocker knife on the right can really help solving that difficulty cutting up food. Bathing. One of the safest ways to get into a bathtub is using that bathtub transfer bench as seen on the left, because then you can sit down and swing your legs in. The biggest struggle with this is what the heck to do with that shower curtain. So what you can do here is sit on the inside lining. You can cut that out, or you can purchase one with what is called a splash guard, and it provides a place for the shower curtain if you are looking into that. Shower chairs in the middle, and to get in and out of your shower, if you're struggling with that because you have maybe a threshold or a 4-inch step, there's something called the double shower chair method we use as OTs, and I have a video that can show you about that. Bathing, we have to think about safety. I'm not a big fan of a lot of shower mats because of the suction cups coming undone, the cleaning, but I do like Gorilla Grip. That's the one shower mat I found to be somewhat safe. I want to include that. Non-chip slip shower strips are the best, and they're on the left. Shower or water shoes may be a really safe option for you. On that topic, grab bars. One thing I cannot recommend is suction cup grab bars. And I say that because as an occupational therapist, I've treated people with, hip fractures because of these things coming unclipped. That's my personal experience. So I recommend more sturdy grab bars, and they have these things called grip strips on the right that can give you a little bit more traction. I included this picture. It is from a caregiver whose husband has Parkinson's disease. They use magnetic shower curtain clips. I thought it was creative. With her permission, I'm including that. A few other things that may help here. Pump bottles on the left. So this can be helpful with tremors because what you can do here is put your shampoo, conditioner, body wash into that pump bottle, and then use that instead of undoing the clip, turning it upside down, squeezing, okay. Handheld shower heads, long-handled sponges, no rinse shampoo caps. This can be helpful for people that are more doing more bed baths, as you don't have to get into the shower for these. Safety, non-slip floor adhesives, remove clutter. And then walker accessories. So walker trays, non-slip grip mats can be helpful. Walker glides, and then cup holders. And it's helpful if you have a cup holder to put a cup in there with a lid. Finally, on the left, it could be helpful with ataxia to add weight to that walker. In this picture, we trial with ankle weights. You can trial with a rollator by putting something on the seat to see if that helps. And then people ask me all the time, what kind of walker or device is best for me? The best thing you can do is get a physical therapy referral. They can decide the best custom device for you personally. Here are some references. The peripheral cooling is in the middle for people who want to explore that for tremor reduction. And then once again on YouTube, Little Steps, Big Gains has all of the tips and tricks I mentioned above. Tips for tremors, eating, compression stockings, all of the above with videos for you. And then here are some other resources of things like that may help with urinary incontinence, some other resources as well. I want to thank you so much for thinking of me and including me into this conference. I feel so blessed to be here. I hope that some of these tips and tricks may be helpful for you.
Hi, how are you today? I am here to talk to you about Ataxia Hacks. And my name is Charlotte Depew. I am also the support group leader here in Denver. So let's get started. I was diagnosed with 3 weeks ataxia in 1998 at the age of 53. Had 2 sons on their own, was an active duty Army nurse with 6 years left of retirement. I rightfully feared losing my retirement when the Army discovered that I had ataxia. Then I would have to live on Social Security alone. Therefore, I kept it a secret, except family that was over 1,000 miles away. I mostly secluded myself right in private, even select window seats so I could cry in private. When I was flying, I had anger, anxiety, trouble sleeping, and became depressed. Finally, after 2 years of this, I had enough. I got counseling and gradually shared with others who accepted the diagnosis better than I thought they would. After all, I could still do my job well. All I saw was the funny walk. I retired in 2007 and did not use a walker until 2012, and I now use a walker in the house so that it reduces my falls. For life to go on, one must first go through the breathing stages. Everyone does this in their own way and timeline. It took me a good 3 to 5 years to feel comfortable with my diagnosis. Your family and others close to you also grieve, and again, in their own way and timeline. My 80-year-old mother felt very responsible that my sister and I had ataxia. Excuse me. The goal is to not say that I can't do something anymore, but I can if I use my walker, wheelchair, call for a disability van, reserve handicapped seats, into a concert, a game, or theater tickets. And the list goes on of those kinds of things that you can still do. Your age at the time of diagnosis has a huge impact on coping. An older person like myself has learned that life can be hard, sometimes even cruel. I survived many hard knocks, whereas someone in their teens, 20s, or even 30s has had less experience coping with the hard knocks of life. Excuse me. No matter what age. An ataxia diagnosis nearly always alters your hopes and dreams of the future. After grieving loss over months and years, you can and you will gradually make plans for the future. So what can you do to cope? After all, or inherited ataxia gets worse over time, and therein is a challenge accepting this fact. Just remember, it's your own choice as to how you react to life's disappointments, obstacles, victories, and achievements. Yes, you can again have victories and achievements. So, what can you do to cope with ataxia? Let's address the mental aspect first. What is the dialogue, the chatter in your head? Take time to listen to it. Thoughts about how we appear to others and what they think of us are distorted. Yes, quite distorted. Unless you can read minds, you do not know the thoughts of others. Tell yourself to wipe away such concerns when they pop into your head. Actually, people are quite benevolent in their opinions of others. Persons with ataxia are often viewed as courageous, an example to emulate. Do not fear. Excuse me, I went ahead one too many slides. There. Do not fear talking about your ataxia, as I felt I had to. Spread ataxia awareness when you have the opportunity. Do not hesitate to ask for help. Remember, others feel good when they can help. Join a support group. Make new friends in the group. Socialize together. Learn about ataxia. Know what is happening in ataxia research. Volunteer to be a subject in some research, ataxia research. Many resources to include many great webinars can be found on ataxia.org/what is ataxia. If you like reading, read self-help books. Podcasts are another great help resource. I found one on National Public Radio, and you can listen to any of them by going to hiddenbrain.org. It's free, focuses on human behavior, and generally based on research. Try it. Be proactive in getting handicap equipment such as bars, walker, wheelchair, and more. It takes time to get these items and then again to have them installed. They'll then be there when you need them. While still walking, I fractured one lower leg and only had a walker. Crutches were no option. So I had to get a wheelchair. Remember to always be safe. A fracture or injury definitely magnifies your handicap. Quickly, some easy things you can do for yourself. Before you get up, plan a feel-good activity such as getting out of the house, noticing the sounds and sights of nature, tackling a procrastinated something, call someone. Do get dressed as if going out and put on makeup, shave if that makes you feel good. Pajama days may be okay for 1 or 3 days a week, but more is only not good for your mental health. When watching TV, avoid shows that trigger negative emotions such as anger and sadness. Some daytime shows where they're shouting at each other, people are angry at so bad, and newscasts can do that to us. At the end of the day, think of things that went well. Think of those things and people you do not want to lose. Now, this exercise helps you realize how much good that you actually have in your life. When praying, rather than asking, give thanks and list the things that you're thankful about. On to other things. How about this, my penmanship? I found that none of these aids really helped me. So it's wise to try aids before you're investing. So now all my written communication is with this guy, a large keyboard. So it works really well. And it also works with any PC or laptop. I know it's available online at business sites and, of course, Amazon. As we ladies age, some of us have incontinence issues. I found these bags on Amazon that definitely work well. They're Boss. When eating out, I asked the waitress taking my order 2 or 3 favors to please have the kitchen cut my meat before serving and fill my coffee cup 1/2 full. If I want wine, I ask for an empty tumbler. I have a tendency to spill that wine glass with the narrow stem, and I also knock them over. I've spilled more than 1 glass of wine. In Colorado, the bartenders are not allowed to put wine into any other glass than a wine glass. And of course, you can always bring your own accessories. Bring your own sippy cup, the one you may use at home, etc. And finally, there was one thing that I wanted to add. I still cook and made some recent discoveries. This is a glove that tolerates over 300 degrees and it works wonderfully. I have a pair. They work wonderfully when I get hot items out of the microwave and not just the oven. And then this is another glove that I put on when I am cutting and dicing things so that I don't injure or cut my finger. And they're called Don't Cry. I don't remember where I got it. But in conclusion, do remember that safety is your number one concern. And also be proactive, get things before you need them. Think about before you act, make sure you're safe. And remember, life is not what happens to you, but how you react to it. So be good to yourselves and love yourself unconditionally, as this little guy does me. And thank you very much. I hope you have a great day.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the live Q&A portion of the Living with Ataxia Hacks session. Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Charlotte, for all of the great, helpful hacks that you shared with us. we'll get right into our questions that we have. Thank you for everyone that's already submitted questions, and we'll continue to answer as many questions as time allows for us to do today. All right, so our first question is for Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, thank you for all your work with ataxia patients. How would you suggest that patients go about locating an occupational therapist that may be familiar with the needs of ataxia patients?
Absolutely. So there are a few options. If you are seeking more of an outpatient aspect, going to your neurologist or movement disorder specialist may be a great resource for any clinics that have more therapists specializing in neurological conditions. Another option that I do highly recommend is just getting an occupational therapist to come into your home, because that is what we specialize in, is getting creative in the home. How can we work with you and modify your home and really work on aging in place? And the thing about ataxia is, you obviously know more than I, in the aspect of you may have, a great day, and then the next day find out that, something happened at work, and stress is going to impact your physical performance. And so that concept of preparing for bad days too, and having an OT in the house where you guys can get creative and figure out, maybe we should put a grab bar here, or rearrange our furniture there, or buy this equipment for here. And I think it's fantastic if you go through this route to kind of have a log of some of the top things, maybe 3 things that you really are seeking some creativity with, something they can partner with you. Because as occupational therapists, we love that. We love to have, these are the 3 things we need to tackle as a team. So it's great to have that little list. One of my favorite definitions of occupational therapy, and I really think this relates to ataxia, is sometimes, if you imagine there is a door between you, and on the other side are your activities of daily living, the things that you love to do, crafting or walking the dog. And sometimes we lose the key to that if you have a neurological condition. But what you can do in occupational therapy in general, we work to get a new key, or let's bust a hole and find a new way. And I think this is a community of amazing people where you together are problem solving in support groups, or you can also rope in an OT with you guys to, bust a hole and make a new way to find ways to get to those activities again.
That's great. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. All right, so the next question is for Charlotte. All right, so Charlotte, you are muted. So while you're unmuting, you had mentioned so many helpful tips during your talk. Was there any tips that maybe you wanted to, you didn't get a chance to mention during your talk that you wanted to be sure and mention to our audience?
Okay, you asked me if there was something else that I maybe didn't mention earlier. Yes, I can think of several things, but one that I would also like to share is this device. You can put a cup on it. Let me show you. You can put a cup on it and swing it, or it moves, but it will not spill.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yes, and it's called No Spill. You can find it online. Just put in No Spill and you'll find several places where you can purchase it, but also on Amazon. And I don't exactly know what the price is right now. Initially, the price was around $10, $12, but I think it's closer to $18, $19, or $20 now. And of course, prices go up on a lot of things. And this was invented by an engineer probably about 8-9 years ago.
That looks like a very helpful gadget.
Yes.
Yes, I like to use it primarily when I am cooking or baking, moving a cup of water from, let's say, the sink over to my bowl or pot where I'm cooking. And before I would spill some of the liquid before I got it to its destination.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad that you found that so helpful and that you've shared that with us today. Yes. Thank you, Charlotte. All right, we have a few questions regarding wheelchairs for you, Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. First, what are some mobility tips that you have for getting around in nature when maybe paths aren't paved?
Oh, goodness, what a fantastic question. I think rollators are fantastic with the larger wheels. Obviously, the bigger the wheels, the easier it is to overcome some of those obstacles. I know certain places such as the beaches and the oceans. I know I've had clients and patients call ahead of time to the lifeguard or the safety area and prepare ahead of time because they have rollators sometimes that have huge wheels on them, or they have wheelchairs with huge wheels. So you can kind of prepare ahead of time by calling and seeing what they have available already for you that you can rent along the lines of being there. Once again, the bigger wheels are going to make things easier, but once again, it sometimes is easier to make sure once you go from rocky ground and then all of a sudden to smooth surface, careful because those big wheels, the thing can fly out from right under you. So just be cautious if you're going over uneven surfaces to smooth surfaces back and forth. That is something to be cautious about navigating.
That is very helpful. Charlotte, anything additional that you would add for navigating nature when paths aren't always paved?
Yes, you certainly have to be careful on some sidewalks because there may be cracks and holes. I've experienced those. So watch where you're going and go slowly when those come up. The other thing that is a problem for me is if I have to go uphill or downhill. Downhill is much more difficult. Mm-hmm. Even going up and down steps. When I take steps and I go backwards. And on the road, keep in mind that most roads are built so that they slope up toward the middle and then back down on the other side. That's in order for a runoff when it rains. And I find that if I walk on the side of the road, there is that small slope. And again, I do not do well unless I have a very flat ground. So I am very conscious of having to use my brakes to help control myself and the walker.
That's really good tips. Thanks, Charlotte. Another question about wheelchairs, Elizabeth. This person's mom is very independent by scooting in a wheelchair. So she uses her feet, not her arms or hands on the wheels. So rarely does someone push her when she's at home. She lives at home with some care supports, and she's curious about any tips or tricks to get the most out of a wheelchair when it's used this way, or what kind of wheelchair modifications to regular wheelchairs could they consider?
Absolutely. And I think that is so smart of her. Dr. Gomez in Chicago, I love the way he talks about devices. And he says, he talks about being walker smart and wheelchair smart. And you can get more done in life sometimes if you just use the wheelchair temporarily, for example, around the house, and save your energy if you want to do more in the community. He talks a lot about, just being smart about those devices. So in order to go back to the question here, I think, scooting around with those legs is is just fine. I did mention in Ataxia Hacks in the video that if she's struggling going through doorways, they do have swing away hinges that can give you an extra 2 inches on the doorway that you can find on Amazon or around me. It's Home Depot carries them. And that will, prevent you from banging up those doorways. But just to make that a little bit more maneuverable. I think that going around on the legs is just fine. Gets a great leg workout at the same time.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Do you have any good tips on technology that would help with speaking?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I wish my little sister was here. She's a speech and language pathologist. I honestly, I don't have a lot of technological input for dictation and things like that. I'm so sorry. I honestly think the ataxia community knows more than I do, and they would probably have some great resources. Charlotte, do you have any input on that?
Well, speech therapy really does work. If you do the exercises that your therapist advises you to do, and slow down in speaking, doesn't matter, just as long as you do slow down, it's much easier to understand you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great advice, Charlotte. Yeah. And just so the audience knows, we do have a breakout session on assistive technology and swallowing. So I would recommend that the person that asked this question and anybody else interested in assistive technology check out that breakout session. Charlotte, do you have any suggestions on writing devices or gadgets?
Well, I find that if I put the paper on top of a sheet of silicone, that it's easier to write because there's a tiny little bit of cushion there with the silicone, and your pen or pencil doesn't escape as easily. I have one in my drawer over here, but anyway, you can get those silicone sheets. Oh, it actually was given to me by a physical therapist or an occupational therapist many years ago. But and you can also find silicone sheets in the cooking, baking area of certain stores, because they used to have them to put them on a cookie sheet to bake your cookies and so forth. And the other thing, I find that I write easier with a pencil, and there are some pens that work better for me than others. And I cannot tell you what kind of pen it is, because one may look very much like the other one, but you start having your favorite pen that works better for you. And it's just a matter of trial and error. And again, I very seldom write anything. And when I do, a day or so later, I cannot read my writing. So I avoid it at all times. And when it comes to writing a check, I just have whoever I'm writing it to write their check for me, and then I just sign up.
That's smart. I do have a few other things as well. I think those are great ideas, Charlotte. Is it okay if I interrupt? A few other things that may be helpful for some is when you have your hand down. I found people, if they put a wrist weight over the actual wrist or use their opposite hand to hold it down. I've had some success with people using something called a wrist cock-up brace or a splint, just putting it on during writing tasks. And I think I mentioned this, but basically it can at least stabilize the wrist, so it's one less joint moving around as much. making sure that you're on a surface where you can perhaps keep your shoulder tucked, your elbow tucked, because the less joints that move around, the better. So if we can take away the shoulder, take away the elbow, keep that wrist down, sometimes that'll help a little bit with those. Those are just a few things that could possibly help.
That's great ideas, Elizabeth. We have a couple of questions about walkers. There is a question of somebody wanting resources on how to get a walker that supports their balance. They have SCA 3 and at the age of 46 back in 2016.
Well, I'm not trying to pass the buck, but I do think getting an outpatient physical therapist to work with you, picking out the right device, the right height, giving you resources, seeing what insurance does cover, what they don't cover, would really help quite a bit. Sometimes people go and purchase something like a rollator with the 4 big wheels. They go to lean on it and it's just too fast and it flies out from underneath them and it's like a runaway train. And but then you don't want to buy devices, return devices. So I think going to a physical therapist, not only that, but they can work on balance with you. So you can work on what's called remediation, working on that balance, but then compensation, finding the right device for you personally. I think that's just the best resource.
That's a great resource. Is an upright walker something that you would recommend?
I have found a lot of people that like upright walkers, especially for postural control. I find that people can walk further with them. Like I said, it has helped with posture. I have found them to be a little bit more cumbersome in tight spaces. When you have to walk backwards to maneuver into a chair, I found them a little bit cumbersome there, getting in and out of cars. But overall, I've had really good success with upright walkers.
That's great.
May I add something to the walkers?
Mm-hmm.
When you belong to a support group and you attend the meeting, you will see different kinds of walkers and wheelchairs. And the members do try out each other's walkers to see if maybe another walker would work better for them compared to what they currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very interesting to see how many different walkers are actually out there. The upright walker, I have a friend who has been using the upright walker, oh golly, probably 5-6 years. And at one of the national Ataxia conferences, I asked if I could borrow it for a day, because just trying it out for a few minutes is not like navigating through different areas and different kinds of ground or surfaces. And I also tried it here at home. I find that the upright walker did not work very well for me because I have a tendency to go like this, and I often felt as though I would lose control and fall over. So I decided an upright walker is not for me. Again, you just really have to try some of these aids and things, because we're all different.
Well, thank you for that, Charlotte. That's great advice. I totally agree. Well, that's all the time that we have for Q&A today. I know there are a lot more questions that have been submitted, and I would encourage everyone that we did not get to your question to attend some of the upcoming breakout sessions to ask those questions in, or maybe those questions will be answered in some of the presentations that you'll see later on in the breakout sessions. Thank you again, Charlotte and Elizabeth, for all of this great advice. And thanks again, everyone, for joining today's Living with Ataxia Hacks session.
Thank you again.